There we go. Another nice one. Check that out, he spit up a shad. A lot of times you see that landscape rock bank, that's where shad spawn at night this time of year, so those fish will be on those kind of banks. That fish was actually, I felt a piece of wood down there with my shaky head, and that's where she was. That's another nice one. Jump for us. There you go. So another really good post-spawn technique, a good pattern, really all over the country, is throwing a shaky head. And a shaky head is something that you can catch fish on 365 days a year, basically anywhere in the country. You know, it's mid-May right now, it's the middle of the day, the sun's up high, it's bright. It can be a tough time of the day to get bites. In the post-spawn, while the shad spawn's going on, a lot of times early in the morning, you can get bites on more power fishing techniques, swimming a jig or throwing a bladed jig or throwing a topwater or things like that. But later on in the day like this, it can become hard to get bites. Fish get a little more dormant, you know, it's not really a peak feeding time. So a shaky head is a good way just to get you some bites. And here I'm just fishing a main channel bank that's going back into a spawning creek. So those fish spawned back there. And I'm just going down this main channel bank. They're just kind of working their way back out to the main lake, and there's some brush, some scattered brush down through here. It's below the surface of the water. You can't really see it, but just covering water with a shaky head, man. You know, the X-Zone Lures Deception Worm is a really phenomenal shaky head worm. I'll show it to you. This is green pumpkin blue. Green pumpkin with blue flake. Got a little bit of chartreuse on the tail. 6-inch straight tail worm. Perfect for a shaky head. You know, for the past couple of years, I've been using the muscleback fat finesse worm a lot, but there are times, and this I feel like is one of those times, when you want a little bit smaller profile, a little bit smaller taper, and a thinner worm is always easier to get a hook in a fish, which is something to think about as well. So I'm really liking this deception worm for sure. And green pumpkin blue flake is just a good color, shows up good in clear water and dirtier water. I mean, this water is not clear by any means. It's got a little bit of stain to it. But I just like to get around that brush, docks, anything that those fish can kind of hang out on and pass time throughout the day. And that little worm is just so natural and just such an easy meal that I think they have a hard time passing it up. Just a good way to get bites. So my setup for a shaky head is I use the same rod that I use for a whole lot of different spinning rod techniques. It's a MHX NEPS 81 MXF, 6.9 medium power. Just a really good rod in my opinion. It's got plenty of power for a shaky head. If I was gonna go up to a quarter or a 3/8 shaky head, I would probably step up to a 7-footer. But this one works really good for 1/8 ounce, 3/16. I throw a 3/16 a whole lot on a shaky head. It's just a good all-around size. As far as my line, I throw it on 10-pound Vicious High Vis Yellow for my main line. On my leader, I tie about a 6 to 8 foot leader of 10-pound Vicious Pro Elite fluorocarbon. Like I said, on the jig head, 1/8 to a 3/16. That's my setup. As far as reels, I use a 2500 size spinning reel, and I like a higher speed spinning reel. I feel like a lot of guys use too slow of a spinning reel and it causes you to lose fish because that fish will actually get a little bit of slack. I use a 6:2-to-1 spinning reel, so definitely keep that in mind. I've got the wind grip reel sleeves on all my spinning reels. If you get used to the feel of those, you'll never go back to not using one. It's just one more place where that wind coverage helps me out. When I set the hook, I don't have to worry about my hand slipping, so it's become a very important part of my arsenal for sure. Jump for us. There you go.